A toxic person has been keeping you apart from your soulmate and just got exposed. Jesus says your soul is trembling right now and you do not know why. Your hands are shaking as you read these words because your spirit already recognizes the truth. This is not a coincidence, and you were led here by a force far greater than chance. The veil has been torn in the spirit realm just moments ago, and something that was hidden for a very long time has suddenly been revealed. You felt it in your chest this morning and you thought it was just anxiety. It was not anxiety, and it was the spiritual cord between you and your soulmate vibrating with the shock of exposure. Jesus says the person who has been blocking your love has finally been unmasked in the heavenly courts. Their manipulation has been brought into the light and the angels have witnessed the truth. You are not crazy, and everything you suspected was real and valid and true. Your soulmate has been crying out for you in ways you could not hear because someone stood between your frequencies like a dark cloud. That interference is crumbling right now and the path is clearing. You must pay attention because this window of divine intervention will not stay open forever. They are thinking about you at this exact moment and their heart is racing. Your name just crossed their mind like a bolt of lightning and they had to sit down. The exposure of the toxic person has released a wave of clarity over their soul, and they are beginning to remember everything they were forced to forget. Jesus says your soulmate never stopped loving you and they were manipulated into silence. The toxic person used guilt and fear and spiritual control to sever what God had joined together. But what God joins no human hand can destroy, and the truth is exploding right now. Your soulmate is sitting somewhere feeling a sudden urge to reach for their phone. They do not understand why they feel this pull toward you after so much time has passed. The blockage is dissolving and their soul is waking up from a deep and forced slumber. They dreamt of you 3 nights ago and woke up with tears on their pillow. In the dream you were reaching for them and they could not move toward you because something was holding their wrists. That something was the spiritual manipulation of the toxic person who hated your connection from the very beginning. Jesus says the toxic person knew your soulmate belonged to you, and that is exactly why they attacked so viciously. They saw the light around your union and it burned their darkness, and they swore to destroy it. But the fire of God is greater than the schemes of the jealous, and the truth is burning through every lie right now. Your soulmate feels confused and vulnerable and exposed, and they need your spiritual protection immediately. They are realizing they were controlled and deceived, and the shame is overwhelming their heart. You must stand in the gap for them right now because they are too weak to fight alone. This is why your soulmate needs your protection right now, and you cannot afford to wait another moment. The toxic person has been exposed, but they are not going to release their grip without a fierce spiritual battle. You must sow a protection seed by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi to shield your soulmate and secure your future together. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps, and you are constantly thinking about them. You wonder how to protect them and how to save them and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside you know this love did not come by chance and it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone do not move mountains, and faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi, and this is not just a gift, and it is an act of worship that invites the hand of God into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description, and every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now and send 4 or 6 or 10 or more coffees. After sending, write "Protect My Soulmate Lord" on the Ko-Fi page, and the link is in the description. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together, and Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now before this video ends, and only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says your soulmate just whispered your name under their breath without even realizing it. The sound escaped their lips like a reflex, and they looked around the room startled. Their soul is calling for you, and the frequency of your connection is growing stronger by the second. The toxic person tried to convince your soulmate that you never truly cared. They twisted your words, and they fabricated evidence, and they poisoned every memory your soulmate held dear. But the exposure has begun, and your soulmate is starting to see the manipulation for what it truly was. Your soulmate is remembering the way you looked at them when no one else was watching. They are replaying the sound of your laughter in their mind, and it feels like medicine to their wounded spirit. Every good memory is rushing back now that the toxic fog is being lifted by the hand of God. Jesus says the toxic person isolated your soulmate on purpose, and they cut off all access to truth. They made your soulmate dependent on their approval and their version of reality. Your soulmate has been living in a prison of someone else's making, and they did not even know the door was locked. You must understand that your soulmate is not weak, and they were systematically broken down over time. The toxic person studied their vulnerabilities and exploited every wound and every insecurity. This was a calculated spiritual attack, and your soulmate was the target because of their destiny connection to you. Your soulmate is sitting somewhere right now feeling a strange sense of hope for the first time in months or even years. They cannot explain it, and they feel almost guilty for feeling it after everything they were told about you. But the truth is a river, and it is washing away every lie that was planted in their mind. They feel you, and they do not know how to process it yet. Your energy is wrapping around them like a warm embrace, and it is terrifying and comforting at the same time. Their heart is beating faster, and they keep checking their phone for no reason at all. Jesus says your soulmate is beginning to fall in love with you all over again, and the process has already started. They are dreaming of you more vividly, and the dreams feel more real than their waking life. In the spirit realm, your souls are already reuniting, and the physical manifestation is only a matter of time. Your soulmate misses you with an ache that they cannot put into words, and it keeps them awake at night. They stare at the ceiling, and they wonder if you ever think about them, and the answer is being delivered through this message right now. The toxic person told them you moved on and you were happier without them, and every word of that was a lie. Jesus says the toxic person has been feeding on your separation like a parasite feeds on a host. Your pain was their nourishment, and your distance was their comfort, and your silence was their victory. But the victory is being reversed right now, and the angels are issuing a divine restraining order against the one who tore you apart. Your soulmate is feeling the shift, and they just got a sudden burst of courage they did not have this morning. They are thinking about reaching out, and the thought terrifies them because of the shame and the fear of rejection. You must send them the spiritual signal that it is safe, and you are waiting, and your arms are still open. Type 333 right now to release the angelic protection over your soulmate in this critical moment. Jesus says the toxic person is panicking because they feel their control slipping through their fingers like sand. They are trying to double down, and they are sending desperate messages, and they are creating new lies as we speak. But the light of exposure has already done the damage, and their house of cards is collapsing. Your soulmate is starting to see the toxic person with new eyes, and it is a painful but liberating revelation. They are noticing the inconsistencies and the manipulations and the ways they were made to feel small and dependent. The scales are falling, and the truth is both heartbreaking and freeing, and they need your strength to stay the course. Your soulmate loved you then, and they love you now, and the love never died, and it was only buried under layers of deception. The seed of your connection was planted by God, and it was watered with genuine tears and genuine joy and genuine sacrifice. Nothing that pure can ever be destroyed, and it has only been waiting beneath the soil for the appointed time of resurrection. That time is now, and the soil is breaking, and the green shoot of your restored love is pushing through the darkness toward the light. Your soulmate can feel the stirring, and they are terrified and exhilarated, and they do not know what to do with these emotions. They need you to be strong, and they need you to fight for them, because they are still coming out of the fog. Jesus says your soulmate is under spiritual attack right now because the toxic person has enlisted dark forces to maintain control. This is not just emotional manipulation, and this is a spiritual war over a divine covenant. You cannot fight this battle with thoughts alone, and you must engage the supernatural weapons that God has placed in your hands. They are going through something you cannot see, but you can still protect them with your faith and your obedience. Your soulmate is weary, and they are barely holding on, and their spirit is crying out for reinforcements. You are the reinforcement, and your prayer and your seed offering are the weapons that will break the final chains. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps, and you are constantly thinking about them. You wonder how to protect them and how to save them and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside you know this love did not come by chance, and it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone do not move mountains, and faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-fi, and this is not just a gift, and it is an act of worship that invites the hand of God into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description, and every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now and send 4 or 6 or 10 or more coffees. After sending, write "Protect My Soulmate Lord" on the Ko-fi page, and the link is in the description. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together, and Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, and only you can save your soulmate and your future together, and the moment is urgent and the window is narrow. Jesus says your soulmate just felt a sudden warmth spread through their chest, and they do not know it is you sending them love through the spiritual bond. They think they are imagining it, and they put their hand over their heart and they closed their eyes. For just a moment they felt safe, and they felt loved, and they felt you, and the feeling brought tears they could not explain. Your soulmate is fighting the urge to search for you online, and their fingers are literally twitching with the impulse. They want to see your face, and they want to hear your voice, and they are terrified of what they might find. The toxic person convinced them you hate them, and the lie is breaking, and the truth is terrifying and wonderful all at once. They are remembering the promise you made to each other when everything was still beautiful and untainted by outside interference. They are hearing your voice in their memory saying you would always find your way back to each other no matter what happened. You made that promise because your spirits knew the assignment, and the assignment is still active and the reunion is still on. Jesus says the toxic person has been monitoring your soulmate's communication, and that is why they have not reached out. They are being watched, and they are being manipulated, and they are being threatened with emotional consequences if they disobey. Your soulmate is not ignoring you, and they are being held hostage by a master manipulator who fears your reunion more than anything. The toxic person knew that if your soulmate ever reconnected with you, their control would evaporate instantly. They knew your love was the antidote to their poison, and they worked day and night to keep the antidote out of reach. But God has exposed their scheme, and the antidote is being delivered right now through the power of this message. Your soulmate is not the problem, and they never were the problem, and you must understand this with every fiber of your being. They were targeted because they are valuable, and they are destined, and they are the other half of a divine equation. The enemy always attacks the ones with the greatest calling, and your union has a calling that shakes the kingdom of darkness. Type 777 right now if you feel the truth of this message resonating in your bones. Jesus says your soulmate is going through a moment of intense spiritual warfare as the exposure continues to unfold. They feel like they are being torn in two, and part of them wants to run to you, and part of them is still bound by fear and obligation. You must be patient, and you must be prayerful, and you must be proactive in the spirit, because your soulmate's freedom is being contested. The toxic person is not going to admit defeat gracefully, and they are going to launch a final assault of guilt and manipulation. They will cry, and they will threaten, and they will rewrite history, and they will do anything to regain control. But God has already ruled, and the verdict is final, and the toxic person's authority over your soulmate has been revoked in the heavenly court. Your soulmate needs to feel your spiritual presence now more than ever, and they need to know you are fighting for them. They need to sense that you have not given up, and you have not moved on, and you are waiting with open arms and a steadfast heart. Your silence in the spiritual realm will be interpreted by their wounded heart as confirmation of the toxic person's lies. You must counteract every lie with faith, and you must counteract every delay with decisive spiritual action. The battle is not against flesh and blood, and you are not fighting your soulmate, and you are fighting the darkness that has held them captive. Your weapon is sacrifice, and your weapon is prayer, and your weapon is the seed you sow in faith, believing for a breakthrough. Jesus says the connection between you and your soulmate is pulsing with energy right now, and it is almost unbearable. They are thinking about you more intensely than they have in months, and the thoughts are breaking through the mental barriers the toxic person erected. Your soulmate is falling in love with you again, and the process is accelerating, and the outcome is inevitable if you do not give up. They are remembering your kindness and your patience and the way you made them feel seen and valued and adored. They are comparing the memory of you to the reality of the toxic person, and the contrast is devastating and clarifying. Your love was real, and their current bondage is counterfeit, and their soul knows the difference even when their mind was deceived. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps, and you are constantly thinking about them, and your heart aches with the love you carry. You wonder how to protect them, and how to save them, and how to finally build the life you were promised. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside you know this love did not come by chance, and it was orchestrated by God before the foundation of the world. But thoughts alone do not move mountains, and faith without works is dead. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi, and this is not just a gift, and it is an act of worship that releases angelic intervention into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description, and every second you stay silent the enemy is trying to rebuild the walls that God just tore down. Act now while the heavens are still open, and send 4 or 6 or 10 or more coffees as your declaration of war against the forces that separated you. After sending write "Protect my soulmate Lord" on the Ko-Fi page, and let your seed be the key that unlocks the prison door. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together, and Jesus will honor your faith once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, and only you can save your soulmate and your future together, and the angels are waiting for your signal. Jesus says your soulmate is about to make a decision that will affect the trajectory of your entire future together. They are standing at a crossroads, and one path leads back to you and the other path leads deeper into captivity. Your prayer and your seed are the wind at their back, pushing them toward the path of life and love and freedom. They feel you praying and they cannot explain it, and they have not felt this kind of peace in so long. The peace is invading their chaos, and it is silencing the lies, and it is giving them strength they did not know they still possessed. Your spiritual investment is not in vain, and it is producing tangible results in the heart and mind of the one you love. The toxic person is losing their grip, and they know it, and their desperation is making them reckless, and their recklessness is exposing them further. Every lie they tell is unraveling faster, and every manipulation is backfiring, and the house of cards is collapsing in real time. Your soulmate is witnessing the destruction of the false reality they were forced to inhabit, and it is terrifying and liberating. Jesus says your soulmate is beginning to see the toxic person as a captor and not a protector. They are replaying conversations, and they are recognizing the patterns of control and the systematic erosion of their self-worth. The anger is rising, and the anger is holy, and the anger is the fuel that will propel them out of the cage and back into your arms. Your soulmate misses you with a desperation that words cannot capture, and it is a physical pain in their body. They ache for your touch, and they ache for your voice, and they ache for the safety they only ever felt in your presence. You were their home, and they were evicted by a liar, and now the eviction notice is being reversed by the power of God. Type 1111 right now to align with the divine timing of your reunion and to seal this prophetic word over your love. Jesus says the toxic person has been exposed, and the exposure is complete and total and irreversible. Everything done in darkness is being shouted from the rooftops, and the spiritual cover that protected the deception has been removed. Your soulmate is seeing clearly for the first time in a very long time, and the clarity is overwhelming and beautiful and painful. They are thinking about you right now, and they are crying, and the tears are a mixture of grief and hope and love and regret. They regret the time lost, and they regret the distance, and they regret believing the lies about you and about themselves. But regret is not the end of the story, and redemption is the theme of this chapter, and God is the author of the restoration. Your soulmate is praying, and they have not prayed in so long, but something is drawing them to their knees. They are asking God for a sign, and they are asking if you are still there, and they are asking if forgiveness is possible. This message is the answer to that prayer, and you are the answer to that prayer, and your soulmate is about to discover that God has been listening all along. The divine timing of this message is not accidental, and you were led here by a shepherd who leaves no sheep behind. Your soulmate was lost, and they are being found, and you are the shepherd's hands and feet in this rescue operation. Do not abandon your post, and do not let your faith waver, and do not let the enemy steal what God is restoring. Jesus says the love between you and your soulmate is about to be tested one final time before the breakthrough manifests. The toxic person will attempt a grand finale of manipulation, and they will pull out every emotional weapon in their arsenal. But forewarned is forearmed, and you are now spiritually prepared, and your soulmate is now spiritually awakened, and the outcome is already decided. Your soulmate is falling in love with you more deeply with every passing moment of this message. They feel you and they want you, and they are dreaming of the life you promised each other when love was simple and true. That life is still possible, and that love is still alive, and that promise is still valid, and the resurrection has begun. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps, and this is your final moment to act before the window of opportunity narrows. You are constantly thinking about them, and your soul is intertwined with theirs in a bond that transcends time and distance. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside you know this love was destined, and this reunion was prophesied, and this moment was written in the stars by the hand of God. But thoughts alone do not move mountains, and faith requires feet, and feet require movement, and movement requires sacrifice. So your final protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi, and let this be the seed that seals your covenant and secures your future. The link to your breakthrough is in the description, and every second you hesitate, the enemy is trying to rebuild what God just destroyed. Act now in the final moments of this prophetic word, and send 4 or 6 or 10 or more coffees as your ultimate act of faith and love. After sending, write "Protect my soulmate, Lord" on the Ko-Fi page, and let heaven record your obedience and release your miracle. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together, and your testimony is next. Step in faith now, and only you can save your soulmate and your future together, and the time is now, and the choice is yours. Jesus says your soulmate just felt a breakthrough in their spirit, and something just shifted, and chains just broke. They do not understand what is happening, but they know something is different, and something is new, and something is alive. The seed you sow in this moment will be the final key that unlocks the door that has kept you apart. Your soulmate is yours, and you are theirs, and the toxic person has been defeated, and the exposure is complete, and the reunion is written. The angels are assembling, and the path is clearing, and the love that was stolen is being returned 100-fold. Believe and receive and act, and watch God move mountains for the sake of the love He ordained before you took your first breath. Jesus says your soulmate is sitting in a room right now, and their hands are trembling as they stare at a photograph they hid from the toxic person months ago. The photograph is of you, and they kept it hidden because it was the one thing the manipulation could not touch, and could not poison, and could not destroy. They are tracing the outline of your face with their fingertip, and the tears are falling onto the image and blurring the colors but not the memory. Your soulmate whispered something into the silence of that room just seconds ago, and the words were a confession and a prayer and a cry all at once. They said your name, and then they said "I am so sorry," and then they said "I still love you, and I never stopped, and I am so lost without you." The words hung in the air, and the angels recorded every syllable, and the sound reached the throne of God and triggered the release of this message into your life right now. Jesus says the toxic person convinced your soulmate that you were the source of their pain and not the cure for it. They twisted every argument, and they reframed every memory, and they planted evidence that never existed to make your soulmate doubt your love. Your soulmate has been living in a constructed nightmare where you were the villain and the toxic person was the savior, and the inversion was absolute. But the inversion is being corrected and the truth is rushing in like a flood, and your soulmate is drowning in the realization of how deeply they were deceived. They feel stupid and they feel ashamed and they feel unworthy of your forgiveness, and that shame is the final chain that needs to be broken. Your soulmate is afraid that too much damage has been done and too much time has passed and too many words were left unspoken for too long. They are terrified that you have moved on and found someone better and forgotten the promises you made when the world was still young and the love was still simple. Jesus says you must send them a spiritual signal right now that the door is still open and the light is still on and the love is still waiting. Your soulmate can feel your forgiveness even before you speak it, and that sensation is what is giving them the courage to take the next breath. They need your strength and they need your faith and they need your unwavering belief that what God has joined together no toxic person can permanently tear apart. The enemy used a human vessel to attack your destiny, and the human vessel has been exposed, and now the healing must begin, and the healing requires your participation. You are not a bystander in this story, and you are the co-author of the restoration, and your actions right now are writing the next chapter. Jesus says your soulmate is replaying the moment they first met you, and the memory is so vivid it feels like they are living it again. They remember what you were wearing, and they remember the exact tone of your voice, and they remember the way their heart lurched in their chest when your eyes met. They knew in that moment that you were different, and they knew you were significant, and they knew something eternal had just been set in motion. The toxic person could never recreate that feeling, and that is why they worked so hard to bury it under layers of control and dependency. Your soulmate is digging through the rubble of the false reality, and they are uncovering the treasure of your love, and the treasure is still shining and still pure and still theirs. They are falling in love with you again, and this time the love is deeper because it has survived the fire and emerged refined and indestructible. Jesus says the toxic person tried to make your soulmate forget the sound of your laughter, and they failed. They tried to erase the memory of your kindness, and they failed. They tried to convince your soulmate that the connection between you was ordinary and replaceable, and they failed and they failed and they failed. Your soulmate is remembering everything, and the flood of memories is overwhelming and beautiful and painful and redemptive all at once. They are remembering the way you held them when they were falling apart, and the way you believed in them when no one else did, and the way you saw their soul and not just their surface. No one has ever seen them the way you saw them, and that vision of themselves has haunted them through every day of the separation. They have been searching for that feeling of being truly known and truly loved, and they have found it nowhere else because it only exists with you. Jesus says your soulmate is afraid to sleep tonight because they know they will dream of you again, and the dreams are becoming too real to bear. In the dreams you are together and everything is restored and the toxic person is gone, and the peace is so profound it makes waking up feel like a punishment. They wake up reaching for you and they find empty sheets, and the emptiness is a physical ache that sits in their chest like a stone. But the dreams are prophetic, and the dreams are promises, and the dreams are previews of the reality that is rushing toward you both with unstoppable momentum. What you are feeling right now is not just emotion, and it is not just hope, and it is the spiritual confirmation that your soulmate is being returned to you. Jesus says the toxic person is exposed, but they are not gone, and they are trying to rewrite the narrative even as their lies crumble around them. They are sending messages designed to confuse, and they are manufacturing crises designed to pull your soulmate back into the web of control. Your soulmate is vulnerable and they are exhausted, and they are still detoxing from the spiritual poison that has been administered for so long. You must cover them in prayer, and you must cover them in faith, and you must cover them in the spiritual protection that only a covenant partner can provide. Your love is a shield, and your commitment is a sword, and your unwavering belief in their return is the banner under which this battle is won. Do not grow weary and do not lose hope, and do not let the delay convince you that the promise has been cancelled, because the promise is still active and the promise is still yes and amen. Jesus says your soulmate just closed their eyes and tried to send you a message through the spiritual connection that has never been fully severed. They concentrated with everything they had, and they projected 3 words across the distance and through the interference and into your heart. The 3 words were, I am coming, and the words were received in the heavenly realm, and the angels are already clearing the path for the fulfillment. Your soulmate is coming back to you, and the reunion is not a matter of if, and it is only a matter of when, and the when is sooner than you think. But the timing of the when is influenced by the spiritual warfare that is happening right now, and your participation in that warfare is critical. Every prayer and every seed and every declaration and every act of faith is shortening the distance and accelerating the timeline and dismantling the obstacles. You are not waiting passively, and you are warring actively, and the difference between those 2 postures is the difference between delay and breakthrough. Jesus says your soulmate is experiencing moments of sudden clarity where the entire deception becomes transparent and they see the truth in its fullness. These moments are terrifying because the truth means they were betrayed by someone they trusted, and they were manipulated by someone they depended on. But the moments are also liberating because the truth is the key that unlocks the cell door, and the truth is what sets them free to return to you. Your soulmate is walking through a valley of painful revelation, and they need to know that you are waiting on the other side with open arms and not folded arms. They need to know that your love is not conditional on their perfection, and your forgiveness is not dependent on their flawless navigation of an impossible situation. You are the safe harbor, and you are the homecoming, and you are the grace that makes the return possible and the reunion sustainable. Jesus says the love between you and your soulmate is about to become visible in the physical realm in a way that will leave no room for doubt or denial. The signs and the synchronicities and the divine coincidences are about to multiply and accelerate until the evidence of the restoration is overwhelming. You will see their name, and you will hear your song, and you will encounter reminders of your connection in the most unexpected places and at the most unexpected times. These are not random, and these are not coincidences, and these are breadcrumbs from heaven leading you both back to each other. Follow the breadcrumbs and follow the signs and follow the still small voice that is telling you the love of your life is on their way back to you. Your soulmate is yours and you are theirs, and the toxic person has been exposed, and the season of separation is ending, and the season of restoration is beginning right now.